Jacob, this podcast has gone to the moon. We are the elite. Oh, yeah. We're the elite of the elite, and that's why we wear Elite Sports, the only sporting brand company that supports Texas State athletes the way that they deserve to be respected. If you want to support the Bobcats and this podcast, shop at Elite Sports. The best athletes at Texas State are sponsored by Elite Sports. The best podcast is also.
Use code SQUARE at checkout for 10% off. One of the best college apparel companies in the country, Home Field. If you got A&M fans, if you got Longhorn fans, if you got begrudgingly probably in your life that you want to give a nice gift for, shop Home Field. Use code SQUARE at checkout, 10% off.
Jacob, when I wear Home Field apparel, I feel like I have a home field advantage.
Do you? Do you actually have one?
100%. I have a golden gopher shirt. Looks great on me. Girls are all over me being like, hey, do chicks really dig the long ball? I go, yeah, they do. 1957 World Series champs, Golden Gophers. What's up, everybody?
Ayo, we're back on the mics.
Squaring around Cypher.
Squaring around Cypher.
No. It was a good show. We had Coach Z on. Here's the interview.
Let me tell this story. Andrew, once upon a time, you and I did not have the same level of access we do now. And now, for the first time in, I think, both you and I's history covering this team, we're getting to talk to a coach, one of our favorites, Coach Z, women's basketball head coach, about the recruiting cycle that she just had, about last season, about sort of some expectations and kind of hopes for this upcoming season, kind of like way too early prediction. We kind of just get right into the interview. There's no real setup or anything. Classic fashion. We just were yelling at each other right before, did not really plan. But we had a lot in our hearts to talk to Coach Z about. So that's basically what this entire interview is about. So we appreciate Texas State for letting us talk to Coach Z. Appreciate Coach Z for being so open with our program, being like, hey, yeah, I'll talk to you. These are the recruits I got. This is what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, it was a good interview.
So you got
mental health was the through line after Jacob has absolutely destroyed mine. So it's a good interview. Here it is.
Tired of winning the tailgate but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squaring Around with Jacob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
I realized we were too busy talking about all that to actually talk about what we were going to talk about, but you're cool just talking about parts of last season, the recruiting stuff from earlier this season, and just very a way too early look at maybe this season.
I like this way too early. I was going to say I appreciate you guys, jumping on the basketball wave right now, because I think coming off of obviously the wave of Caitlin Clark, and then Angel Reese, and now we're going to the Olympics, and man, what a great game the men just played and the women play coming over soon. I appreciate that, right? And I've always appreciated that you have an understanding of women in sport, so that means a lot to me. If you're gonna ask me what it looks like, I'll tell you. I've been at a couple football events, right? And people are getting excited about football. People are getting excited about volleyball. And so when I run into donors and fans or just people, even within my own city, when I'm in Houston, they ask a lot about, well, tell us about the upcoming year. Tell us, what happened last year. And so I always tell everyone the same thing. Last year was tough from the standpoint that we started out, right? We had an early loss of a starter, right? And that was Lauren Thompson, who made the decision that she, for health reasons, decided to go ahead and stop playing and go into the working world. We were able to work through that time period, right? And so we went 8-3 in the preseason, meaning that you learn how to play without that large of a presence. We had a change in our roster that happened on the road, and the Southland Conference Player of the Year, for mental health reasons and for health reasons, made the decision not to play. That was difficult to recover from, largely because there's strategies involved, right, in figuring out ways to win. We fought in a lot of close battles. We had a lot of women who did step up. We just came up short. I really felt like we needed more depth. So going into this year now, I made sure that we went with the full roster, guys. So Jacob, Andrew, we have a full roster. We have 15 women. We signed 10 players. I've never had a full roster.
Wow.
A lot of AU coaches have asked me, right? And high school coaches, oh, Coach Z, you have a full roster this year. You've never done that. I was like, you're right. I haven't. But I think part of it is the stressors that student athletes are under, the stressors on their bodies as well, is that if they do need to step away from the game for whatever reason, I need to ensure that our program is in a good place to where we don't take so many steps back, right? So now with the full roster of 15 women, that ensures that when somebody else is asked to step up, she's in great position to be able to do so to help the team. And so I'm really excited about the roster the coaching staff put together. We have 10 new women. Okay. If you can follow me, 10 new women, 4 freshmen. Okay. Then 6 transfers. And of those 6 transfers, one of them is a junior college transfer, our last signee, and her name is Ebba. And she's actually from Sweden, and she's currently at home in Sweden right now. She's a post player. Then the
How do you even
transfers are different. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how do you even prepare for something like that when you lose like 2 quality players? Because it's like you mentioned that having a 15-person roster, this is the first time it's full, but like how do you even prepare for something like that? You really can't, can you?
Well, there's things you can do. Oh, well, preparation is right.
I guess.
When you fail to prepare, right, you're preparing to fail. I don't throw all these coaching
coaching cliche action.
Yeah. But truly, that's true. So you have to think forward thinking, right? Okay, if this happens, then what can we do to put ourselves in the best scenario? And that's what you're really looking to do. And what we found, honestly, is we have a great combination. You have these 4 freshmen. We have 5 returners, right? But then you got these 4 freshmen who are all really good. And then you have these 6, right, transfer student athletes that for whatever reason, they made the decision to either come home or see a change in whatever that looked like for them at their 4-year institutions. Of the majority of those transfers, we recruited them the first time around, which is pretty cool. Right. So I think that's neat. So they're coming back to Texas State because the experience they had through the recruiting process was good and they appreciated it. And they said, you know what, maybe it didn't go so well this first year, but now I want to come back and take a look at Texas State. And they jumped on board and they really have done a great job of gelling. So you can't necessarily prepare, but there's things that you can do as far as being able to help this team move forward. And so the areas that you prepare in is, right, great culture. You need to have student athletes that want to work hard. You want to have people love the Bobcats in Texas State, but you don't want to have love it so much that we aren't, in the classroom, on the court, those stories you hear about the Southwest Texas folks. So I think that's part of making sure that we are, well, you run into them every now and then. I hear a lot of stories about, I started out
my sophomore year, coach. I'll be honest. Yeah.
No, I'm not worried. And you tell them it can be done, right?
It can be. No, I locked in and look where I'm at now.
That's right. And we have a lot of student athletes that are doing a phenomenal job across the board in every sport. So that's something that you do have to focus on in recruiting for sure, right? You can't come to Texas State and think that it's going to be an easy ride because you've transferred in, or that it's just going to be so much fun and you're going to be able to obtain a degree. No, we are an academic institution. And so that is a big piece of it. So finding those women as well, in addition to all the other things that you need, right? Scoring, defense, like what we're going to look like. I think what you guys are going to find this year is we're going to look different, and that you're going to see different from what you've seen in the last couple of years. We'll look more like my first couple of years. You're going to see a lot more transition. You're going to see a lot more scoring, which I'm excited about. And that has a lot to do with the young women that we did bring in. Right?
I talked to you off the bat about sort of like my coaching qualms and stuff in college football, because now I'm a coach.
Please tell me.
But like that's such an interesting thing, is like you like the people that you like want to recruit onto your team, they have certain like wants, needs, and things. Sometimes you can't fill it and sometimes you can. And so that's been like the thing for me. I've been like, look, this is how it works in real life and not a video game, man.
I got a follow-up question to that.
That wasn't even really a question.
What's it like to have people who don't do this professionally, who, if they don't get the recruit they want, they can turn off the Xbox? For you, somebody who, if you don't get the recruit you want, you have to go to the big board and cross off that name and say, like, well, actually, not even cross off. Be like, hey, I hope in a couple of years that they circle back around because we did such a good job recruiting.
It's part of what we do now, and I understand, right? When you're at a mid-major level, there's certain things we're not going to have, whether it be NIL deals. For some people, it's just a fancy location, right? It's the ability to be able to charter, it's the ability to be able to do some of those things that some of these P4s are able to do. And then for other young women and young men, it's really just being able to understand, okay, where am I in the pecking order? And am I going to have an opportunity to play at this level or not? Because I really want to play. And so what you found is a lot of these young women and young men that come back to Texas State, they want to play, right? And to show them the path, which is part of what you ask, like, how do you do it, is show them the path that we've had pros play here, right? We have current pros, we have previous pros. We have pros that played at a guard spot. We have pros that have played at a forward spot. So can you be successful here? Yes. Do you want to be a doctor? Yes. We have young women that are doctors. Do you want to go into teaching? Whatever that it is really showing that there is a path, and there's been a path since I've been here for her to be successful. So that's a big piece of what we try to make sure we convey to them, that it can be done and you can have a great experience. Texas State is a phenomenal place. You get a great education, you can have a lot of fun. The Sun Belt is a tough competitive conference that you will find that we have a lot of women that are playing professionally out of this conference, even, obviously with Texas State, but then beyond. So I'm excited. We've been able to attract to that. I mean, if you take a look at the 4 freshmen that we signed, right? One is the second leading scorer out of the city of Houston. I think Heather Bayman, that's huge, right? The other one is top 10 in scoring out of Houston. We got a great guard out of Virginia, who's top tier. And then, of course, our viral sensation in Sanaya Burks that dropped 75, right? And she was the leading scorer in the nation. So that's an exciting group of freshmen to bring in. I can tell you that is definitely the highest point percentage group that we've ever brought in here at Texas State. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And they're definitely going to have opportunity to play. So this isn't a situation where they're all going to be sitting the bench. No, these young women are going to have opportunity to play. But you add in the transfers, right? One came from Oklahoma State. The other one came from Kansas State. Another one came from Howard. Another one came from Bucknell. They're all going to see, opportunity at some level.
So recruiting Burks, when she has that 75-point triple-double, do you turn to your staff and go like, hey, time to fire up those phones again? We got to double, triple, quadruple down
in the house
recruiting
again this week.
Because like you see something like that, maybe if she probably was on a bunch of radars, but like if she wasn't on your radar before, she is now. What was that like?
We were celebrating with her, to be honest with you. We were all on board with Sanaya when we brought her in. Obviously, she wasn't scoring at that level when she first came in, because when they come on their official visits, their seasons hadn't started yet. Mm-hmm. But she was scoring at a very high level, right? So we know that we needed a high-level score if we're going to really compete and go deep within the Sun Belt Conference and beyond. So that was a big piece of it. The second piece of it really is who Sanaya Burks is. Her parents are student athletes, and they both played basketball. And so just understanding who she is and how hard she's going to work was exciting. So now, right, when the big lights came on and she was a viral sensation, it made it really easy and fun to support her. And largely because of who they are, right? They're not the type of family that would say, oh, you know what? Let's go on to bigger and greater things. And I truly believe that's because her parents were student athletes. They both played at Stephen F. Austin, right? So they're mid-major student athletes who understand and the value of being in a program and making something great. And that's what they did. And they instilled that in her and her brothers. And so we were there celebrating. Is there going to be a time where somebody's throwing her maybe, $1 million, and Texas State's going to have to try to figure out how we're going to have to manage that? I hope that is the case, because we're doing very well if that's the case. All right.
Shout out Victory Star. Well. Let's get those bags up.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
The Squarin around NIL fund coming soon.
Keep Burks in San Mo. Put out the flyers. No, that is really cool. That you guys are able to celebrate with her, because again, from a cynical point of view, I see something like that and I go like, oh my God. From a fan point of view, I see something like that and I go, oh my God, I hope that she stays committed to Texas State. Like another team doesn't swoop in. There isn't $1 million bag sitting out there somewhere to go play, I don't know, at USC or something. So it's very cool to hear that you guys were really happy and supporting that.
And remember this too, Andrew, right? Before Sanaya, we did have, both Denasia Hood and Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
Taylor. They had opportunities, and there were people, reaching in, trying to pull them away. And them and their families made the commitment to stay. I always will say we work really hard at recruiting great families, and they came from phenomenal families who are committed. And if you take a look at Kennedy Taylor's brother, right, Wade Taylor at A&M, you see the same thing. You can't sit here and tell me people weren't, trying to throw a million bags at him to try to get him to leave A&M, but you see he stayed true over the last 2 years and stayed. So that really speaks to the character of the young women that are Texas State student athletes, and specifically to my coaching staff and how hard they work for these young women. So I mean, I put Sanaya right up there, right, as well as honestly any other young women that are really going to be able to find a lot of positives this season.
When you talk about recruiting, you talk about like the opportunity to potentially go pro. Do we have, because again, I'm not seeing it on my end, but you're seeing it on yours. Do you have those alumni that come back and that say like a Toshua Levitt or, they can come back and say like, hey, look, Texas State did X, Y, Z for me. I'm playing professional ball over here. Right. Do we get that a lot?
Ashley Eze for my first season, right? She just retired. She's actually the sister-in-law of one of our football coaches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that until her sister introduced herself to me. But Eze just retired this past year, and so she came by practice and she's talked to the student athletes. Denasia Hood's still around because she's training right now, so they have an opportunity to play with her and see her all the time, which I think is great. So when you have former student athletes who are pros and current student athletes that are pros, and they get to see the men's basketball players that do come in, it's always great because there are a fair amount of young women now who aren't just saying, you know what, I want to go into a professional career of my academic choice. Some of them saying, you know what, maybe I can put that on hold and give myself an opportunity to play professionally and grow, just grow myself as a young woman. And so it is great to be able to do that. And we do that right here at Texas State.
When you talk about the culture stuff specifically too, I think that's like what's pretty unique about Texas State, like overall. Like you see like now like huge football headline stories, right? About like people coming in, people leaving. But like before all of last year, because this podcast isn't just dedicated to football, but all of last year, like we were still having like some core pieces of like every Texas State team basically staying, even though they had opportunities to go. And it's like that culture fit is recruiting the right people at the right time for the right reasons, So I've just always appreciated that from the coaching administration, is like truly building a culture of like Bobcats who want to be Bobcats.
I agree with you, Jacob. I absolutely love our coaches around here. I mean, I love hyping them up. I love going to their games. I love talking to them honestly about recruits because as a coach, you kind of want to know, no, give me the low, like, are we really hype about this young man or are we not? Coach Sean already knows how I feel about volleyball. I love volleyball so much, and I'm over here cussing out our Olympic women's team when, they took it to 5 with Serbia just now. And I'm running down there asking questions, but I do have a passion for sports, but specifically, you're right, at Texas State, because as I watch and I look at my counterparts, they really do. They're class acts. And what people don't see when they do have struggles or student athlete struggles, and you don't see it in the wins and loss columns, I see like how hard they work here and, what Dawn is really working to get towards, and how, Kelly, Dr. Dampus has worked hard as well supporting our coaches. It makes me really excited. So it's no wonder, right, that you're seeing some of the successes that you're seeing, or even some of the recruits that we're able to bring in now as well, right? When you're asking those questions, like, hey, how were we able to compete against that school? Hey, that's exciting. I'm with you, Andrew. I hope we can keep him or her too. But in the meantime, I know we're going to take good care of them, and we're going to train them, and we're going to work really hard to put them in the best place they can perform.
Yeah. You talk about supporting the different teams. You guys were out with the football team this past week. You had Coach Love doing, what was that, a hang clean?
A clean.
Yeah. You ready? CrossFit.
Let them know.
Yeah. Great job.
Yeah. She's like, I want to clean. I was like, you're in wedges, in a dress. She's like, I got this. I do CrossFit. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to challenge you right now. And so, no, she was hyped. So she got out there and, we're all cheering her on. Got to hand it to her. She's ready to go at drop of a dime. Do not challenge Coach Page, or do, Jacob, if you want to get her going the way you got Andrew going earlier. Challenge her, and she will meet and exceed whatever that challenge is. So it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of women in our community supporting our football program, which was great to see. All of the entire coaching staff was out there. Goodness, Summer was out there, and she just had a baby. Talk about a tough woman. And so we got to see Swayze. We got to see the baby as well, just for a little bit. But it was good to see. It's good to see, all the movement going on the field too. It really gets you excited about the season. with the naming and then the changes in the end zone. So it was a great opportunity for a lot of us to be there. And I also saw a couple other coaches' wives from other sports that were there as well. So it made me really happy to see the support that is pouring out for this program, really, because, right, football and volleyball and soccer really kind of jump off the season. And I think it's really important that we're all there to support each other.
Yeah, soccer starts like super early. Don't they start like the second week
They
of
do.
August?
They do.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, no, it's too hot for me.
My favorite thing too is seeing you and Coach Johnson at the tailgates before the football game. So it's like probably like week 2 or week 3, whenever you guys do your thing. But that's always nice too, because I'm like, oh, I have to write a preview probably pretty soon about these teams.
It's a reminder.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a reminder.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys need? What, like, as a coach, you see the stuff that's happening at the football field, they're redoing it. Do you look at the event center and you think to yourself, like, we need X, Y, Z?
Honestly, right now, no. We're top tier in the Sun Belt Conference in basketball as far as facilities are concerned. With that renovation that happened, it made all the difference. From a recruiting standpoint, from a functionality standpoint, are there small things here and there that can change? Yeah, and I see Don maybe making those changes in the future as far as facilities are and functionality. But overall, we have top-notch facilities to train. If you go from school to school, one of the things I do like to do during shoot around or before we practice, I kind of sneak in the back to see, okay, well, what does what does their training room look like, right? Do they even have a film room? What does that film room look like? What do their auxiliary gyms look like? So you kind of sneak back and take a look at what you're recruiting against, but also what you're competing against and how they're able to train. I can tell you we're fully capable here of being able to train our student athletes. And so that's exciting for me moving forward. I would tell you at a mid-major level, every mid-major coach would tell you, in order to compete right now, we're really talking more about that NIL space and what that looks like, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like again, I want to circle back to the re-recruiting, and you have players who were recruited in the beginning from Texas State that decided to go somewhere else and they come back. How does that work now? Because it used to be a little bit more cloak and dagger. You're not really supposed to be like re-recruiting, but like, how does that work with the transfer portal and everything else? Like now, do you have like an update, your Google alert that pops up and goes like, oh, I remember.
You're right. So people are capitalizing on that, right? This is America. So what they do in every sport is they track on student athletes that jump in the portal. And so now these services, these databases that you can say, I'm looking for student athletes from Texas, right? You kind of give them what those, you can sort it by whatever it is that you're looking for. And then they'll populate it and they'll get you back that name. So you can pay for those services. Otherwise, what you're doing is there is a transfer portal that's open up, right, that the NCAA uses. And I'm assuming these services somehow find their way to get to them. And that pops up and you're constantly refreshing and you're taking a look and you're kind of trying to figure out, okay, does she fit our profile or not? It's really easy if we've recruited them because we know their names right away, right? And then the other piece is always going to be word of mouth, right? Student athletes talk, right? The student athletes talk. And if there is going to be a change and they feel like it's going to be a positive addition to your program, they let us know.
Got you.
I'll tell you what's funny. I found through this process, they'll let you know if they're a player, but you find out later in the process, they'll be like, look, my girl tried to holler at us. And I just was like, no, coach, like, I didn't want to let you know she can't help us. But hey, you know what? I appreciate it because they're invested in the program, right? And I was like, we appreciate that.
That's cold, though.
Yeah, well, but you know what? People think about it. If you got a friend in another school and you're like, hey, do you guys have any roster spots? I'm sure they're having to filter some of that too, where they realize like, oh no, like you won't be able to help us from a basketball standpoint. You're my friend, but and or football or whatever that sport may be. But it's kind of neat to hear those stories, neat from the sense that I was like, wow, like the investment that the athlete has in their program.
Well, cool. You better just hope that they know what your team needs.
Yeah, I know you're right.
Oh, I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed if I was a coach. It was like, so you're
dropping a double. Yeah.
Yeah. Your high school teammate who was like the, all city assist leader wanted to come and you said, no, we're good. Like, I mean, locker room cancer. Like, why would you tell her no?
We don't have any of that. I promise you that we don't have any of that.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good thing to hear. Cause you listen to other coaches, and again, you're around enough. You talk to some other women's basketball coaches, and that's like, not half the job, but at least like a quarter of the job is kind of just like chemistry management, team management side of things. And every time I've talked to you over the past, almost 8 years now, that's never been a problem. There's never seemed to be like a real big like locker room issue. What is that? Just by recruiting the right families? Is that recruiting the right players? Is that what you attest that to? Or are you just the ultimate like mediator, making sure the locker room
Definitely
stays
not,
locked?
Andrew. I'm
No.
definitely not. Our approach here is we're going to recruit families always.
Mm-hmm.
But like all families, we're going to have our problems. We're going to have our arguments. We're going to have our issues. There's going to be drama, and we work through the ugly, right? Because I can tell you over the last 8 years, there's definitely been ugly, right? And you got to work through that, and you have to learn how to love each other and work through that every single day. And we celebrate the fun stuff, though. I think that's part of possible as well, being a part of a family. Is you celebrate. We have Dean's List. We're celebrating that hard, right? Just like an all conference player, like so. Or if someone has a massive inroads in their life or something great happens for someone within their family, we celebrate that because that's important. We work too hard together and we ask so much for them for us not to. And the mental health piece of it is so important for Gen Z that I think that you can't ignore the fun stuff, right? And just try to work through the ugly stuff. I think the more you feel good, right? You feel as if you now are a piece of something bigger than yourself. And that's really important in our program. But I'm definitely not going to sit here and tell you that I'm some form of a Zen master at all because we definitely have our issues. And I definitely appreciate the fact we have great women, though, that know how to work through it.
I'll tell you, Zen Master sounds like the title of Jacob's article when he previewed the Zen Master talking about Gen Z, how to recruit Gen Z.
No.
What was a bigger shift for you, the 3-point revolution or mental health for Gen Z? Which one was
Mental
easier
health.
to
Mental
really?
health.
Okay,
I'm a Gen Xer.
got
Through
it.
and through, right? We're the ones that everybody ignored us and nobody cared, and there's a lot we don't care about. So it's taken me, I will tell you, my evolution really came with that 2018 class, right? That 2018 class that had Erica May and Taylor Deere. I think that's when my evolution happened. And then I'm going through a second wave right now because my sons are class of 2027s. They're sophomores. And
Really?
so, yeah, so that
Oh
also has now
wow.
helped me in my evolution of being just more understanding of Gen Z. Because y'all forget now, there's this Gen Alpha out there. They're ready for you. They are gunning for you, Gen Zs,
I
man.
feel fine. I feel fine. Nobody wants to work in radio. We're good.
That's true. Yeah, we do have that going for us.
You say that now. Gen Alpha is different. They are not like
gosh.
Gen Z.
Yeah, more locked in.
More locked and very in tune with their feelings. Very expressive.
I feel fine. I feel like I'll be okay in radio.
Dylan doesn't have feelings. He just yelled at his best friend before this podcast. So
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
yeah, no,
It's not the army. It's army. Get it right.
mental health is something that you and Coach Johnson like super open about like discussing too. I remember 2 years ago, it was Mason Harrell's senior year. Coach Johnson, it seemed like every press conference had something to say about like the importance of mental health, working through tough situations. They were having a hard season, then ended up becoming like the first like 12 seed or higher to make it to the semifinals that year at Pensacola. It was Andrew's favorite city, Pensacola.
Yeah.
But you as well, you've been super open about talking about mental health and stuff too. So
I think again, like I said, that evolution of that 2018 class, and as we move forward, and then just understanding that there are a lot of stressors put on this particular generation, Gen Z, and what that looks like, and understanding that it's very real. It may not feel that way for you, but it is for them. And so being able to meet them where they are. Like to me, it's you got to meet them where they are, not halfway, not on my terms. You meet them where they are and help build them up and get them to a good place is important. So as much as I was stressed out over last season in our student athletes that had to step away from mental health, there is an understanding that how important that is. And so what my response to that is, right, is build a program that can now house if student athletes do need to step away for mental health reasons. It's no different than a student athlete stepping away for injury, right? That it's something that's a necessity. And in order for me to be able to help build this program up, I have to be prepared for that. But the mental health piece is important, and we do give off a lot of like, I don't want to call them surprise days, but I try to make sure even for my coaching staff, they'll just have a day off. And I do appreciate the student athletes saying in their exit interviews when they graduate, that's one of the things they appreciate, that we do give off. When we say we're off, they're off, right? We're not hitting you up like, let's come in and watch film or, make sure. Now we will hit you on academics, but we're not going to hit you up. You really get to take that time to do whatever you want to, right? And I think that's important.
That and listening to you here, that's a really good recruiting tool because I can tell you there's a lot of older school Bobby Knight type coaches who would have a situation that you had last year where two student athletes step away from mental health and they say, well, next time I'm in the recruiting, I'm looking for stronger, mentally tough people. But that's the opposite, kind of the opposite of what you're saying here. Like I respect that a lot more than the old school way of doing things, I think.
And those two young women were mentally tough.
Yeah.
In a basketball perspective, I think the toll of the game and where they were in their careers, it was just they were ready to take another step in a different direction, if that makes sense. So I would never fault them for where they are. I'm going to prepare our program to be in a better place. The Bobby Knight thought process is right, dinosaur. That had nothing to do with them being mentally weak. It had more to do with where they were in life. That those coaches that are in that dinosaur stage are now recognizing that they're having a lot of young women transfer for different reasons. And so that piece, when we inherit those young women, there's a lot of deprogramming of some of that. Those they have too, right? Like, you see a tightening up, you see maybe some stress, you see a very just different response than what I normally would think you get from a student athlete. So being able to communicate with them and say, hey, that's okay. At Texas State, it's okay. It's okay to communicate that. No, you don't need to be in fear or be stressed out over that scenario. That's not the way it is here. But we are asking you to be a better communicator. So I think that's important too, as we get these transfer portal student athletes, when they come into the fold, making sure we help them break down some of those stressors they had or anything at all that really put stress on their mental health, really at the forefront to help them understand that may not be the same situation here.
There's so many things.
Coach Z was my boss.
There's so many things as a student athlete that you got to keep your head on a swivel about. It's crazy. And then if you're an athlete, you've been an athlete your entire life, right? You get to this level, that's such an identifier for you now. And then if things don't go well for you on the court, on the field, wherever, you're suddenly like, who am I as a person? Now I got to figure out life without my biggest coping mechanism, probably. It's tough.
And shout out to Don Coryell for bringing in, right, in his tenure, we're able to bring in a sports psychologist specifically to help student athletes. And it isn't just from that piece, right? This sports psychologist in particular works on even some of the imaging that happens, right? You're missing shots, right? You're shanking the ball when you're punting, whatever that is, right?
The yips.
Yeah. I learned that from my twins this year. I was like, what is that?
I hope your twins don't have the yips with baseball.
Oh,
right?
no, they don't play that. They don't play that position. So yeah.
Or Simone Biles, the twisties,
Oh, the twisties. Yeah. But it happens. So you're right though. So you need someone to help you through those stressors, in addition to other life stressors, the actual performance piece of it. So it's really neat where before we'd have to, find these specialists or do a lot of reading yourself as a coach. We have someone here to help our student athletes, which is just awesome.
Speaking of mental health, how was Casper, Wyoming this year? I'm sad I didn't get to. You guys didn't get to hang out.
You are not sad. You are not sad. I don't know why I'm about to be where Jakob is. Actually, Jake, you put me in a place that Jakob put you when you mentioned Casper, Wyoming, because the national tournament is going to be there
again.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
they won the bid.
I'll lay it out here. So 2 years ago, it was in Lubbock, which is not the easiest place to get to, but it's better, I think, than Casper, Wyoming, because there's no direct flights to Casper, A, and B, this tournament is held late April or early April, late March, right?
Cold. Freezing cold.
Yes. Yeah. So it doesn't get warm in the Midwest, the northern Midwest, until about June. And they have this tournament in one of the worst cities in that upper area, A, and B, in one of the coldest areas in the country. So when I knew that it was going to be in Casper, because I thought it was going to be in Lubbock again, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see Coach G and Coach Love. This could be great. When they said it was in Casper, I was like, I will not be there for that. That is not happening.
It was rough. And I mean rough with a capital R. It made Lubbock look like Key West. I mean, Lubbock looked like Key West. Oh, no. You got restaurants. You have, I can't even tell you.
Buddy Holly Museum. I checked that out. That was great. Yeah, no, when I went to Lubbock and I saw you guys, that was like the icing on top of the cake. I absolutely love seeing you guys, but going to Lubbock was nice. Just because it was Texas. I was like, I cannot wait to. When they said it was in Wyoming, I was like, I'm not going to that.
And what's crazy is there was great talent.
Yeah, in Casper, for sure. Yeah.
Great talent, great games. It's just, I can't even imagine what it was like for some of those athletes, right?
Well, I think to the team, that Blinn team that was so good, and a lot of those Southeastern teams that are really, really good, you got a Casper, Wyoming. It's like, hey, I don't think you're going to get appreciated the way you should be appreciated in Casper. Like the local fans aren't coming out being like, I can't wait to see this team from South Florida play. That doesn't exist. And B, like, if you're in Texas, there's a ton of Texas schools who might think to themselves, like, I'll go to Lubbock to go recruit. I'm not going to Casper to go recruit. Like,
Casper filled that place though for their team.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, good for them.
The whole town showed up. It was pretty awesome, and they actually have 2 young women that are D1 prospects on their squad. They're not from Casper though. They're not from Casper.
Where are they from originally? Like the Twin Cities, like
Colorado.
Again,
Colorado, once in Chicago.
You really gotta love basketball. If it's like, hey, I got one place that's gonna want me, it's a junior college in Casper, Wyoming. Nah.
You know what? Actually, Andrew, she might jump in that JUCO portal. She might be at another school. Both of them might be at other schools this year.
I believe it. I liked Wapaton, North Dakota. It's fine. There was a bunch of athletes from Chicago and the Twin Cities that were there for academic reasons, mostly, where it was like, okay, I need to get my grades up. I'll go here, then I'll go somewhere else. And they all ended up at Division II or Division I, smaller mid-major programs. And that's cool. But Casper, brother, like, nah. If I was from Texas, I'm not going there. Sorry.
Well, sadly, we have to go.
Yeah. Well,
we got to recruit.
Well, back in the day, Zimmel would call me with oftentimes very bad mental health days for him. But the day that he saw you guys over there, he lit up. I was like, I've never seen him.
It was awesome to see him too. Yeah. It was great. Anytime you see a Bobcat on the road, you got to give big love.
There it is.
Big day for Andy when he saw you guys.
Huge day. Because I walked in.
I answered the phone. I was like, oh, God, this guy can never just have a good day over there. It's like Grey's Anatomy. Like, it's always the worst day possible.
Low key, that might be the chapter of the memoir. When I'm in North Dakota, just call it Grey's Anatomy is the name of the chapter. That's a tough look. That's a tough look. Yeah. Hate to see it. But now I'm in Texas, so that means you guys are going to win the Sun Belt, right, Coach Z?
You know what? The goal is always to win the Sun Belt. Our goal is going beyond that now, is really trying to make sure we put ourselves in great position to
win the Sun Belt Conference tournament, right?
Yes, to advance. Yeah. That it is. And there's going to be there's going to be some tough competition, as you know, right? There's going to be some really tough competition. I couldn't say now who was on whose roster because, we all have reloaded rosters, but, you have your usual suspects. You have JMU. You're going to have ODU. You're going to have Lafayette's going to be up there. Troy's always going to be up there. And I know there's going to be a couple surprises, right? This past season, it was Marshall. Now that coach left and parlayed her way into the job at Tennessee. So they have a brand new coach. But we'll see with some of these other programs, right? Monroe stepped up like that overnight. So I'm really looking forward to it. But until then, we're just trying to train and get ourselves in a good position where we're gelling and we have the chemistry and really putting them in positive positions. I'm really excited to roll out this team. Just need a little bit more time to work on it before you guys get a sneak peek at the opening game at Eastern Michigan.
Shout out Eastern Michigan.
Oh, you've been at Ypsilanti? You've been at Ypsilanti?
Big Eastern Michigan guy over here. Huge.
Really?
Huge Eastern. Yeah, come on, dude. When you live in that area of the country, you have to be locked in on Great Lakes athletics. Like that's what it is. Like,
you might be a fan of a man named Jakob Rodriguez from McCown Memorial High School in college football 25. He just transferred over from Texas State.
So I'm going to put you on the spot now.
Brother.
So would it be Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, or Western Michigan? What's your pecking order? Where would you want to go to school and be a student?
I'm gonna go Central Michigan 1, Eastern 2, Western 3. That would be my pecking order.
Okay.
That's just the
Chippewas.
That would be mine. Yeah,
gotcha.
The Chippewas. Yeah. Here's the big thing too about Central Michigan. I'm pretty sure they had a college radio station there that was not terrible. Like they never win any awards, but they're never really far out. Like if it's top 3 people get an award, they're always fifth. So yeah. So I need to remember the call letters. Yeah, no, but Central would be my number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
the same way that when the Pac-12, did I ever tell you the story about my Pac-12 journey?
Oh.
So when Texas State was going 2-10 every year, I had to pick a different school to root for because I couldn't. My mental health was too connected to the Bobcats. So I was like, let's dilute it. Let's go out west. I picked Arizona State because they had a really good journalism program. I was like, Arizona State's kind of like Texas State a little bit. And then their football program completely tanked. Shout out Herm Edwards. So it was like every weekend I was watching Texas State, being like, oh, well, at least I got the Pac-12 after dark. And then Arizona State would get blown out. I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that happened to me. It was tough. It was tough.
But now we actually play them on Thursday.
Oh, I know. I'm pumped. That's going to be a good game.
Yeah, a real good game. I think they did lose that quarterback left though, right? That they got for a year that was going through all that.
Well, we had a quarterback that left too, so it's kind of
we did. But this quarterback that we have that we inherited is pretty nice. Yeah.
Have you got to see him at all?
I have not, but like I said, coaches talk, and so I'm always trying to figure out what we look like. So I'm always talking to the student athletes and finding out, just getting little snippets here and there, and everything I've heard has been positive, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I'm always trying to make sure that your leadership from the top is going to be really doing what you need him to do, and I've heard nothing but great things about that young man being a great leader, working hard, getting the guys gelling. So that gets me even more riled up and excited to be a football fan.
Yeah, I'd be kind of nervous if you were like, hey, I've heard only bad things since he came on campus.
And if I did only hear bad things, I wouldn't tell you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
I'd say, they're working on it. They're working on it. They're working. They're still working.
Yeah.
They're really trying out there. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I've heard nothing but positives, though. Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have like a favorite recruiting story from the road from this past year? Because I know you guys go all over the map. It's been my favorite.
No, as a matter of fact, I wouldn't talk to any coach right now regarding any favorite recruiting stories. Most of them are horror stories. A lot of coaches have gotten COVID, and a lot of coaches got caught up in that American Airlines and Delta Airlines. I didn't go out that weekend, but Nate did. He ended up sitting in the airport from like 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., just being told he had to go home and fly out the next day and not make it in time. If you talk to most college basketball coaches, probably most coaches are out recruiting, right? Football, softball, they probably aren't happy people about the way this went. And probably neither are parents, either are prospects, because the airports are packed. There's a lack of cars available. You're going to get more nightmare stories than you are going to get, those just great stories.
Yeah. Besides that, how was the play, Miss Lincoln? Jeez. Golly. Like nothing good has happened. It's all been bad. But hey, you know what?
Consider the travel stuff, because I get to do all this
the travel
from the couch, most of the time.
So the events don't change. So if you're scheduled to go see something, you don't get out there. Now you've spent thousands of dollars and now you haven't seen him or her play. So you're mad, right? Yeah. So there's just different situations, right? Hotels and checking out. So no, you have coaches that really went through the ringer, this summer with some of these events. And that's both on the men's and women's side. Cancellations, sleeping in airports. Yeah. So all that video, everything you saw on socials, think about all those college coaches that were out there. And in men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, we're all out there recruiting in that mess. So
you're telling me I should start putting the podcast link underneath those deals? At any coach, you want to got an hour to kill? This is the pod for you. Check in.
You're right. That's actually not a bad idea, because they had a ton of time, and most coaches aren't going to act the fool, right? We're probably watching the show more than participating in any kind of crazy. But as far as finding great prospects, there's still a lot of great high school prospects out there. Due to the transfer portal, it's made it even tougher, I think. So, but the positive to me is like we're even more selective now about the high school kids that we recruit. We don't need to really recruit that second tier, right? We can recruit the top tier for us. And then if it doesn't work out, it's okay, because we have the transfer portal.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. Because a lot of mid-majors end up turning into like farm systems for some of the bigger programs, right?
Where some schools are, you're right.
So you're almost in the situation, if you're like a Texas State, like a mid-major, yeah, you get your pick of the litter when it comes to those top prospects. Like, okay, we want XYZ player, but also, hey, if there's a mid-major in Georgia or a Division II or Division III school in Florida, like, hey, we give a good relation with that coach. If they have their best players looking to play Division I basketball, hey, here we go. Come to Texas.
That's
State.
what Marshall did, right? That's what Marshall did. That's what Oakland, the kid that came from Oakland that in men's basketball that they had the big story on with the hair.
Yeah, the white guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So I think he came from a small school, then went on to another school before he got there. So you do hear the top tier Division II players, right, being recruited to our level and being able to step in. But for sure at Marshall, the young woman that was the Abby Beeman, she was a Division II player, and she stepped.
And that's almost like a cheat code where it's like, hey, I can just go to your school and pull your best player, and you just hope that there's not a bigger fish type of deal for Texas State. That like, I don't know anybody in the state that would do that to us, but you know,
oh, they all do. They do.
Well, I'm not seeing a Taylor Deere or a Kennedy Taylor go to UT. You know what I mean? Like I'm not seeing.
So because think about it, right? You didn't have NIL, Andrew. Now you do. So that's why I said I put a lot into the fact that Denasia Hood stayed and Kennedy Taylor stayed, because the money started flowing then.
Oh yeah, that's when you got on here and you were like, you said something about Volkswagen money or something. You're like, I wouldn't say a Ferrari level money, but maybe a nice.
But that's what's going on. So right. So I've had colleagues of mine at those Power Fives, some within the state of Texas, that would ask me questions about our first team all conference kids in the Sun Belt. And
so you start lying, right? Start being like,
yeah, no, you know what? I they know me, so I there's a couple expletives going on. Because I tell them what they're doing. I'm like, well, if you were me, you know, you got to understand like what you're asking me, you know. But I said, but if they ask, you know, well, can she do this, that, or the other, I'll still give them a response, but also try to remind them. There's some friends that'll call, or colleagues, I should call them, that'll ask questions. Like, that's why you're getting paid millions, and I'm here at Texas State. So go do your own work. I'm not here to do your work. I'm gonna put some money into my account, figure it out. But no, Andrew, it does happen all the time.
Yeah.
All the time now, because you can pull them away with NIL money. You can pull them away. So think about this. You know, the shooter that was that came from Missouri that went to Arkansas State.
Yeah.
She's in Arkansas this year. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now Jonesboro versus Fayetteville, right?
Yeah.
Both shitty cities. I don't know.
Have you been to Fayetteville? Fayetteville is not a crap town.
Come on. If I had to live somewhere in Arkansas, I guess, but I don't know.
You're so close to the Ozarks. Don't think of the show on Netflix, but you are close to the Ozarks.
See, but you're an outdoorsy person, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so see, there it is.
He doesn't even like live music.
I'm a city mouse.
You're kidding me. You don't like live music?
I work at a radio station, and I'm like, nah, I'm good on the live music.
An auto-tune guy, huh?
They tried, yeah, for sure.
You've never been to ACL? Jacob, you've been to ACL?
I haven't been to ACL, but I've been to other festivals.
Okay,
here's the thing.
Live music.
Here's the thing. I'm a snob. Why do I want to be with the rest of the people when I could listen to it on my own? I enjoy music. Here's the other thing, too, and this has saved me a lot of extra work. A lot of times when you work at a radio station, they were like, we'll give you free tickets to XYZ event if you help us with this thing. And I'm like, I don't like live music like that. I'm okay. We'll keep it moving.
How are you friends with him? Listen, let me tell you why. Live music, Andrew, is so authentic. It's so real. And to be able to see, very much like the way you love sports.
Yeah. No.
Right? I just saw Shohei tank it on my freaking Astros on Saturday, but we won. I was there for the walk-off. To see Shohei live is phenomenal. The same thing with music. To hear an artist live, it hits your soul. Yeah. It does. Like, it's live. It's so clean.
It's not. I'm not out here caping for like we should ban live music. I'm happy that people like live music. That's fine. You all do your thing. And if somebody said to me like, "Hey, Zimmel, we're all going to a concert. You want to come with us?" Sure, I'll go. But it's not like I'm not going out searching for like a live music event. I'm not like, hey, Jacob, we got to go to see this open mic. Nah, I'm good. We'll keep it moving.
So if you had an opportunity to see your favorite artist, you would go, right? Tell me you would.
Oh, last night, Zach Bryan was in San Antonio. And
Zach Bryan was in San Antonio. And I
you had tickets to Zach Bryan?
I probably
could have gotten them
to get tickets. But like,
it's no different than sports.
But I'll tell you, if Kendrick Lamar called me, if Kendrick Lamar called me and was like, "Hey, we're having that pop out event. You're the only non-LA guy we want out there," I'd be like, "All right, let's do it. I'll go on stage."
You get on stage.
You missed Kendrick last year at ACL, just so you know.
Yeah, I'll see walk. I'll see walk with Russell Westbrook. I got you.
Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan.
There's no difference between live music and going to see a live sporting event.
Oh, I disagree.
Not to me. That you get to see. You get to see the artists. You get to see them perform, right in their form, like in their form.
I would rather go see let's say this. if there was a big concert, like let's say ACL was the same weekend as the Sun Belt tournament, right? I'm going to the Sun Belt tournament 9 times out of 10. Like actually 10 times out of 10. I would rather go see a big tournament. I'd rather go see a big football game, a baseball tournament than to go see a live music performance.
And I can see because there's more stories involved within sports, right? Like you see, and especially because of what you guys do, you see the story within the story, and you know the background story. And it's not necessarily like that with music, right? So I can
that stagehand. If he doesn't get those amps set up the right way, he's out of here. He's off the tour. We get him off.
Nobody's paying attention to that.
I guess too, like what we do, like we get a backstage pass to it all. So like it feels, you know, I could see from Andrew's perspective, like why he would want to do that. But also like, you know, it's just fun to do other things. It's fun to do things you have no other like connection to.
And that's my problem, folks, is that
he's so locked in.
I'm so locked in. The grind is so grinding right now that it's like I can't do anything else. It's just
You're watching a lot of Olympics right now as well.
Yeah, I've the waking moments I've had. Yeah. So, dude,
I'm
Simone Biles,
I'm definitely locked in on it.
I don't understand. Like Simone Biles, God love her. I hope to interview her before her ankles completely go out and she can't walk because there's no like
Estonian. You might have a chance.
She is crazy. She is insane of an athlete, and I just feel bad.
She's 27, and they consider her old.
I'm 26, or well, I'm going to be 27 in a couple of days. I feel old. And she's a what, 4-time Olympian, 4-time gold medalist. Incredible. Hats off to her.
She is. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun too, watching people ask what her husband's name is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he was out.
Got a lot of opinions on Mr. Jonathan Owens, but you know.
Yeah. I'm glad that
he's on your fantasy team.
No, he's nowhere near my fantasy team.
Keep that man away from all my teams, bro. I was glad that he was out there rocking a shirt with her face on it because she is the prize. That clip, that got underneath my skin. Like, no, it shouldn't have, but it did. I was like, what do you mean? What are you acting like that for? Like, she's a queen, and you're acting like
when he got on that podcast, and everybody had to ask him who he was before he was there. Yeah, no. You
won't catch Andrew Zimmel ever doing that. I promise you that. That's the
story
promise.
Within the story that people don't like. That's probably why you love what you do, which is awesome. Which I will say, music doesn't give you that feel, right? Especially when you go watch them perform.
He is kind of like Batman level crazy though, like where other people will be off like having fun, like Andrew. Like will be like in his cave, like how do I become better? And it's like, wait, it's okay. We're just getting drinks at a bar on a Friday, Andrew. And he's like, I'm locked in.
Andrew, we love that. As a coach, we love that.
Buy the book, folks.
Yeah. So I need those off days. Otherwise, I go off the rails. Or I'm not
you know what? But you can help. It sounds like you are the person that helps Andrew with his mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No,
try my best.
Not a shot. Are you crazy? No,
I give him an outlet.
Sounds like he's advocating for you to do something else, enjoy life. Not everything has to be about bettering yourself in your field.
I do connect him to other fun people. You know, I think I'm a glue guy.
Oh, 100%.
Great locker room addition. You know, I might not get a lot of minutes, but you know, everybody's really happy when I'm on the court.
The glue guy is the most important piece to every program. You can take a look at all the team sports right now and recognize, okay, that's what they're lacking. They have a superstar, but they don't have that glue guy.
That's what this podcast is.
Yeah.
This is what this podcast is. Jacob's the glue guy.
And you're not the top.
And you're the superstar.
There it is, Coach Z.
You got to go do you. You got to go do you.
Yeah.
I'm KD in the club. I'm putting shots up. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm KD in the club.
I don't know what to tell
you. If you and KD were in the club, you would be the second most awkward guy in the club. That's funny.
Kawhi.
I think of all of the athletes, I think me and KD would get along the best because
you also have burner accounts.
Yeah, we both have our antennas up all the time, 24/7. We're listening, we're seeing, we're taking everything in. We only care about the thing that we care about. He'd be a great co-host on a radio show because you could get him wound up and he would talk about whatever he wants to talk about. And then we turn the mics off and it's fine. He'd be great with callers. Could you imagine KD on a call-in show? Hey, Kevin, boom, cancel the call. You're a bum. Get off my phone line. It'd be great. I think KD would be the best radio show host or co-host ever. I'd love that.
You say that about a lot of people, though.
Yeah. Kawhi would be a bad one.
Like John
LeBron
Stamos would be the best person.
Nah, John
what does
Stamos
John
wouldn't be a good one.
Stamos know about this?
I don't know. Coach Z, what do you think? Where would you, if you had to do a radio show, who would your, or podcast, who would your podcast partner be?
Oh, that's a great question. It would need to
Thank
be
you.
somebody that's funny, right? Because that somebody can just add that light-hearted take on things.
Brand Freeman.
Somebody that couldn't take themselves too serious. You know what I mean? You need somebody that balances you. Like you and Jacob have this thing going, like little, little yin and yang thing going. So there's a good balance.
Yeah.
That's a tough question. That's a really tough question. That's a good question, actually.
It's good
Might be
too.
the best question you asked me. I actually don't know the answer to that. You stumped me.
Different people vibe with different things too, So
They do.
a certain way.
It's easier to say who I would not gel with, right? Like there's certain people in my life like, oh no, that wouldn't be good.
I don't know. See, that's not the Coach Z I know. This is positivity. This is Zen Master. I don't want to hear the negativity. I want to hear about the people who you wouldn't do a podcast with. I want to hear about people who you would.
That's a great question. That is a great question. I don't know the
Because look, if we wanted to go down the list of people who I would want to do a podcast with, there've been plenty of people who've reached out and been like, we should do a podcast together, bro. I say, nope, not happening. Love you.
Oh,
not happening.
Yeah, you don't need him bringing you down.
No, well, also I don't need the extra work. Jacob is the glue guy, and he's also the producer and the editor of this podcast, and we love him for that.
We love a great glue person. I have a lot of great assistant coaches that I do one with, but my mind went straight to celebrities and basketball players.
Ooh,
so the second you asked, first person that popped up, was Kevin Garnett.
Ooh,
energy guy. Yeah, right. He'll say some stuff off the cuff. We can laugh, and I can bring us all back down to normal. That's where it went. Right. That's where my first place it went. All the women's basketball players I love are way too serious.
Sue
they're
Bird?
Serious women. They're like serious, right?
Yeah.
Bird serious.
DT, she would. I don't know. DT would be fun. Deanna
I
Taurasi?
don't think so.
No.
Too serious.
Yeah.
Right. Too serious and want to control everything all the time. Like there's just certain players like Chelsea Gray. I love Chelsea Gray. Too serious. Right. I do like Asia. Asia's fun.
Yeah.
Stewie might be fun. Inescu.
I don't know. She seems kind of serious too.
Does she?
Every video
she might be. She's a mom now, so that also changes it. But see, you had me thinking.
Dawn Staley? Would you do a pod with Dawn Staley? Yeah.
It'd be a lot of fun. And she'd drop a lot of knowledge, right? Because she's really involved in a lot of different areas, honestly, in the realm of sport. So
I think Dawn would be you excluded. I think Dawn, for the women's basketball coaches, I think she'd be the best podcast host. I don't think
Do you
Gina.
think her and Mulkey could do a podcast together?
No, not a shot. No, not a shot. Not a shot. Gino, I don't think he'd be good at doing a pod. Trying to think. I don't think the former Iowa head coach, what was her name?
Yeah, Lisa Bluter.
Lisa, I don't think she'd be a good podcast
that's
host.
not her thing.
No. So I think
this guy's like the Pope. He just anoints people all day.
I mean, look, this is, if we're going to call somebody the Pope, I don't know why we wouldn't be me. I don't know.
Dawn is a good choice.
Thank you.
I mean, look, she's doing great with Mike Trico right now during the Olympics. Yeah. Doing the color back and forth.
It's almost like I know what I'm talking about, Jake. It's crazy.
And yeah, you do. That's the upsetting thing, I think, to some people is like, you say something and you're like, dang it, he's so right.
But again, by the book, Sports Radio Bible.
Oh my God.
But do it because this is what you do. If 90% of the things you say are like making the person in their car bang their head against the steering wheel, they're going to keep tuning in because no matter what they say, they love the car crash. So
that's true.
Let's go positive now. Or you make them laugh. Or, you're happy. It's exciting. You can't wait to hear what next nugget they're going to drop. What little funny anecdote story.
If Coach Johnson puts me through the season that he put me through last year, there's not going to be a lot of smiles. There's going to be a lot of frustration.
I don't know just yet, but I have an inkling that you're going to be excited. I've seen the guys here a lot in their training, which is important to me. When I don't hear basketballs being bounced, like if I leave here and I don't see a basketball being bounced or hear basketballs, I get stressed, and you always step out as a coach to see who it is. And we got a lot more basketballs being bounced around here. And Colton's always up here all the time, so I'm excited to talk to him and see how the guys are doing. Got this new Australian mate named Nate. So Nate's been up here a lot. He's been excited. I don't know Nate's last name, but yeah, Nate the mate. Nate is from Australia, and I was excited to meet him. There's actually quite a few young men that I've met that have been up here and around the offices, right? So that's a presence. The presence is important. That means that they are enjoying their experience so far here at Texas State. Now, I haven't watched practices yet, but I think it's unfair to watch coaches practice. In basketball, I don't really start watching somebody else's practices till we hit mid-October.
That makes sense. Jacob, what was the player that we walked up the stairs with?
Oh, yeah. Andrew didn't even know what Colton Benson looked like. And
Oh, Colton! Colton's
yeah,
amazing.
Colton's awesome. Yeah.
Colton's amazing. I mean,
At
if
being
things
a
don't
human,
go
probably.
right, yeah, if things don't go right, I'm low key gonna snatch him up and ask what the heck is going on, Colton, because I'm really hoping for Colton to lead our team this year.
So we had a very authentic experience of Andrew not being happy with the team, walking right behind Colton Benson, who was talking to us very authentically about how things went. And I was like, he was on the court. Well, he was on the court that night, but he was there, Andrew.
We'll get this turned around, guys.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
So.
And you're gonna be happy.
Don't talk to me about it.
We're gonna give you reasons to be positive.
Okay. Write that one down.
Yes. I just want to thank you, Coach, for your transparency too, because it's been my dream to talk to a Texas State coach like postseason before the recruiting stuff. Because we want to talk to you guys all the time, but sometimes like recruiting schedules don't really work. So we appreciate your time, your transparency, and all that. We can't wait to support you guys coming into this new season. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and I know you know that comes from a genuine place. And honesty is very important to me, but also just making sure that we have people that advocate. And so when we have young men, advocate for women in sport, it makes my heart so happy, right? Because you're sons and you have mothers, aunts, nieces, and I think you understand in this current landscape of sport, we have a lot of great women that work really hard, and just finding, your voice, being able to celebrate them is important. And you can still celebrate our men at the same time. And so I appreciate the advocacy that the two of you guys provide for our Texas State women's basketball players.
Of course.
Right. Look at that. Got the cosign.
I love talking to Coach Z. She might be my favorite person to talk to of all time. Because anytime we're talking to her,
I do a podcast with you every week. Every week I do a freaking podcast with you. And this is the thanks I get. Favorite person to talk to, Coach Z.
Brute.
At Tu Brute. I don't know the difference between Army and the Army. No, Coach G is one of my favorites. And she was the first coach. I'll say it. She was the first coach that really, you talk about transparency, really opened her program up to me when I was covering Texas State athletics. It was the first Division I program I really got to cover. There was an SID, I forget his name at the time, who was not as open with access as Coach Z was. And
Charlie?
Maybe, I don't remember. But anyway, she was very open and honest with like letting me talk to players, which was super cool. I could talk to the Haley or the Holly twins, and then also Tasha Levitt and a bunch of the women's basketball players. And transparency equals better coverage, and I think we did a pretty damn good job covering them when we were in school. And now out of school, I still think we are the only podcast that has consistently talked women's hoops for Texas State. I don't think that there's another, and not that there's no shade to anybody covering Texas State. That's just the whole women's basketball in the Sun Belt. I think we're the only one that covers women's basketball in the Sun Belt.
I'll keep it 100. It is shade to everybody else that covers Texas State. I mean, because there's so much stuff to talk about. For a long time, actually, we did not have a football team. So that's what you and I occupied ourselves with. I loved covering the basketball team. Danny Casper was there. That's like the whole era that I was a part of, like that whole story. And then you see Coach TJ's year last year was his first year kind of without any player, with any coach on his roster and staff without that team or without any of that connection,
Hold on. One of those two programs lost two important players to mental health issues. The other one
floundered for the entire year.
Coach TJ was not exactly the most mental health forward coach from the press conferences we were at. Since every week he was like, these guys kind of suck. So
he did kind of soften up towards the end. It took 2 years of losing though.
I don't remember
2 years in Pensacola. Maybe it's Pensacola.
I don't remember him softening up at all. I remember constantly being like, I don't know if I would have said that, but okay. It's a shock that the entire roster wasn't turned over.
Yeah, that's fair. Or you would see stories of like, oh, this guy's in the portal, and you're like, oh, well,
Shocked.
not surprised.
Yeah. So
Uh,
anyway, Coach Z was great. We love her.
if you're wondering why the hell are Jacob and freaking Zimmel talking about basketball in literally the last week of July? Oh, it's because we're about to get drowned in football stuff from like now until basically what, like mid-November when we start writing stuff for Dave Campbell's maybe.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of football for a while. So I decided to start showing some love to some other sports. Next week, we got a big makeup episode. I'm not even going to promise it because I promised last time on our 100th episode spectacular, and I totally fucked it up. So next week, we're going to have a big one on too. So
Yeah.
Coach Z this week, huge guest next week. The week after that, I think I think at some point in August, I have to check my calendar. We have
DJ Kenny.
yeah, obviously we gotta have that dude on. But Don Coryell is gonna have him. We're gonna have
The state of the program.
state of the
Are we
athletics
doing that?
department. Yeah,
There it is. Not
it's already
a bad
booked
time
for
to
I
do it.
think the third week of August. So I've just been waiting to
Okay.
tell him on a time because I don't have a TV contract yet. So my life is a little in the air.
So
Will
if
Jacob
you-
have a job before kickoff?
If you're a news director in the state of Texas, there's a free agent that might be coming on the market.
The biggest free agent in San Antonio history right now.
I remember Duncan in 03. There was Kawhi, and
Yeah,
then there's
but,
Jacob
you know.
Rodriguez.
Yeah. Hey, top three is pretty good, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Quick update on CFB, everybody. Lost my first game in the DCTF Fantasy League. Got skunked by Matthew Brune. If you see him online, don't play him. And if he sees me in person, he better run. Because that's the only way I can beat him in
It's
person.
on site.
On site. Matthew Brune, watch your back. And then in real life, right? Just me playing, goofing off to the side. First year, Texas State, rode the bench.
Offline or online?
This is offline, Road to Glory, but on Heisman, the hardest difficulty. On Underdog, the hardest way to play. Rode the bench my entire first year at Texas State. Second year, come in, totally like suck the entire first half of the season. Start a few games, win a few games, get us to a bowl game, lose the bowl game. At the end of the year, I'm on the bottom of the depth chart. How is that possible? So I transferred to Eastern Michigan. I got sick of playing.
GJ Kenny knew he had to recruit a new quarterback.
Yeah, GJ Kenny was like, Jake, sorry, take your ass back to the Valley. So I'm at Eastern Michigan in that one. I started a new one, right? I'm like, let me play on the 5-star elite level on Heisman again. I was like, I just want to play. I want to be the number one, whatever, right? So I'm the number one wide receiver at Arizona State. Arizona State sucks at football. They cannot get me the ball in open space. We're not winning. So that game is just lost to history at this point. Now I decided to become a 5-star quarterback. Obviously, that's the position I play. Look at me. I'm a natural. Against all odds, I had so many offers. The SEC, ACC, wherever. I could have played wherever. I chose to serve my country and join Navy football, baby. So I'm with the midshipmen getting our ass kicked because for some reason they still run the triple option and they refuse to do it. Now I'm at the point, though, where I can just go, we're running this play. We're running this play. So that's cool. But, I'm going to have to transfer. I'm going to hit that portal for sure.
You're going to transfer out of the Navy.
I'm going to transfer out of the Navy and maybe come home. Maybe come to Texas State.
Very cool. Glad you're having a fun time playing a video game.
Dude, it's so fun. This is where all my free time goes. I just started running again this week. I'm going to run more than 20 miles a week this week for the first time since this damn game has come out.
Good for you. I biked my health journey.
Oh yeah, how's that going for you?
Going really good. The biking's really good. My glutes are hardening up from the seat, which is good. I watched a ton of press conferences. I don't know if you've been keeping track of the news.
That's what I do in the background at work. Actually, I just have one going.
You work while you're at work. That's great. I work all the time. Grind set.
How is that different from what I said?
You have.
I'm off gallivanting and having fun.
Yeah.
But I told Andrew, I texted Andrew, right? I said, yo, I'm giving up alcohol till Worst Fest. And Andrew immediately laughed at me because he doesn't think it's serious. No. I'm like, I'm just you mode now, bro. I'm gonna be better than you. Watch out.
At what?
I'm coming for your ass. Pause.
Okay. All right. Jacob says I'm going sober for 2 months. I said, Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you can go 60 days without alcohol.
Now it's going to be till worst fest. Till worst fest, baby.
Yeah. Most rehab centers, you have to go 60 days before
I
they even let you out.
I did get invited to a boat party by a very pretty girl.
Go
And
to the boat party.
I can't go.
Go to the boat party. What are you talking about?
Temptation, my lord.
Go to the boat party. What are you talking about? You can't not drink
I can't
alcohol.
go. My parents are in town this weekend. Shout out. Shout out.
Badass invite.
Roll up.
Yeah. Give me the address.
All right.
Offline. Don't do it on the podcast.
They're at. Yeah.
I will. I'll pull up.
All right.
Mama Rodriguez. Love. It's always been love.
Always been love.
Always been love. I'll bring the cup.
My cup.
The Squarin mug that I have. Yeah.
I don't have one of those anymore.
I do.
Oh, I think I do. It's somewhere. It's somewhere, Mom. I promise. I don't have any more koozies, though. My bad. I had to give them to Jess and Sarah Vanderford.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Bobcats and the pros, Texas Smoke, they were in Miami this weekend. Looked like they had a good time. So, eyes to keep your eyes locked in on that. Follow them on Instagram.
All right. On that note, thanks for squaring around, everybody.
We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.